You're going to say goodbye to your entire family because of God is warning you. Pay attention. There is a quiet reason this message found you today, and it has less to do with losing people and more to do with discovering who you are becoming. If you clicked on this title and felt something pull at your attention, even for a moment, then listen closely. Deep inside, you have been sensing a change that is difficult to explain. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is the kind of feeling that arrives in silence, the kind that visits when everyone else is asleep and your thoughts finally have room to speak. Somewhere within you, a new chapter has already begun, and part of you knows that life cannot remain exactly as it has always been. What makes this feeling so powerful is that it is connected to the people closest to you, the ones who have shared your history, your memories, your struggles, and your growth. For a long time, you may have carried the expectation that everyone around you would understand your journey. You hoped that as you changed, they would change with you. You hoped that as your perspective expanded, they would see what you see. But growth often arrives in unexpected ways. Sometimes it creates distance, not because love disappears, but because understanding takes time. There are moments when you begin thinking differently, feeling differently, and responding differently to life. The people around you notice it, even when they cannot put it into words. They sense that something within you is shifting. Stay with this, because there is something important here. The change you are experiencing is not separating you from others. It is helping you discover which connections are built on genuine understanding, and which ones were built only on familiarity. You may have noticed yourself becoming quieter about certain dreams, not because those dreams are gone, but because they are becoming more personal. There was a time when you shared every idea, every hope, every possibility. Now you find yourself protecting some things until they are ready to grow. This is not secrecy, it is wisdom. Deep down, you are learning that not every stage of your journey requires an audience. Some transformations happen best in private. Some realizations need space before they can be explained. And while this process can feel lonely at times, it is also teaching you something valuable about your own strength. The version of you that is emerging does not need constant approval. It simply needs honesty. As this journey continues, you may find yourself looking at familiar relationships through new eyes, not with judgment, not with resentment, but with clarity. You begin noticing who encourages your growth and who only recognizes the version of you from the past. You start understanding that love and distance can sometimes exist together, and that caring about people does not always mean remaining exactly where you started. Don't miss what comes next, because the realization waiting ahead is one that many people spend years trying to understand. What feels like a goodbye may actually be something very different, and the deeper meaning behind it is only beginning to reveal itself. There comes a moment in every meaningful journey when the heart begins asking questions that the mind cannot immediately answer. You may be standing in that moment right now. Perhaps you have been wondering why certain conversations no longer feel the same, why some connections seem harder to explain, or why a quiet feeling keeps telling you that you are stepping into unfamiliar territory. The strange thing about personal growth is that it rarely announces itself. It arrives softly, changing the way you see the world one thought at a time. Then one day you look around and realize that the things that once defined you no longer fit as comfortably as they used to. This realization can feel both freeing and confusing at the same time, because part of you is excited about what lies ahead while another part is still holding tightly to what has always been familiar. What makes this experience so emotional is that it often involves the people you care about most. Family relationships are filled with memories, traditions, expectations, and unspoken understandings that have been built over many years. When you begin changing from the inside, those relationships naturally encounter new questions. You may find yourself wanting different things from life than you once did. You may feel drawn toward goals, ideas, or values that were never part of the path you originally imagined. There is nothing wrong with that. In fact, it is often a sign that you are becoming more honest with yourself. There's something important here. The challenge is not choosing between yourself and the people you love. The challenge is learning how to remain true to your growth while still honoring the connections that helped shape you. Perhaps there have been times when you felt misunderstood, even while surrounded by people who genuinely care about you. That feeling can be difficult to describe because it is not caused by conflict, it is caused by difference. You are seeing life through a new lens, and not everyone around you has reached the same place yet. This does not mean anyone is right or wrong. It simply means journeys unfold at different speeds. The temptation during these moments is to either shrink yourself to make others comfortable or push people away to protect your new direction. Yet neither path brings real peace. True growth asks for something more balanced. It asks you to remain open-hearted while continuing forward. It asks you to trust that understanding often arrives later than change itself. As you move deeper into the season of life, you may begin noticing a subtle shift inside your spirit. The fear of disappointing others starts losing its power. The need to explain every decision begins to fade. In its place comes a quiet confidence that cannot be borrowed from anyone else. You start realizing that your path was never meant to be an exact copy of someone else's expectations. It was meant to be uniquely yours. Stay with this, because the next realization changes everything. The feeling that you are drifting away from what once felt certain may not be a sign of loss at all. It may be the first sign that you are finally becoming the person you were always meant to be. Sometimes the most important changes in life are the ones nobody else can see. They happen beneath the surface, quietly reshaping your thoughts, your priorities, and even the way you understand yourself. You may have spent months, or perhaps even years, feeling as though something inside you was evolving without being able to fully describe it. There were moments when you tried to ignore it and return to what felt familiar, yet the feeling never disappeared. It kept returning in small ways, through reflection, through unexpected realizations, and through the growing awareness that you could no longer pretend to be the same person you once were. What makes this experience so powerful is that it is not about becoming someone new. It is about uncovering parts of yourself that have been waiting patiently to be recognized. As this awareness grows, you begin noticing how much of your life was shaped by expectations that were never truly your own. Some were spoken aloud, others were silent and inherited over time. Without realizing it, you learned who you were supposed to be, what choices you were supposed to make, and how you were supposed to define success. Yet deep within, there was always a quieter voice asking different questions. What if your purpose looks different? What if your path unfolds in ways nobody anticipated? What if the life that feels most authentic to you cannot be fully understood by everyone around you? These questions are not signs of rebellion. They are signs of awakening. They reveal a growing willingness to listen to your own inner truth, instead of living entirely through the expectations of others. One of the hardest parts of this process is accepting that not everyone will immediately recognize the person you are becoming. People naturally remember earlier versions of you. They remember your old habits, your old fears, your old limitations. Sometimes they speak to those versions long after you have begun moving beyond them. This can create moments of hesitation where you wonder whether you should step backward simply to make things feel comfortable again. But every meaningful transformation requires courage. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that continues forward even when certainty has not yet arrived. There's something important here. The discomfort you feel is not evidence that you are on the wrong path. Often it is evidence that you are leaving behind something that no longer reflects who you truly are. What happens next is where many people experience their greatest realization. They discover that growth is not about choosing between love and authenticity. It is about learning how to carry both. You do not have to stop caring about the people who shaped your life. You do not have to erase your memories or disconnect from your roots. Instead, you begin building a new relationship with yourself, one that allows you to honor where you came from while still embracing where you are going. And when that understanding finally settles into your heart, something remarkable happens. The fear of change begins to soften. The uncertainty becomes easier to carry. And you start seeing that what once felt like an ending may actually be preparing you for a deeper sense of peace, clarity, and belonging than you have ever known before. A surprising truth often appears when you have traveled far enough into your own growth. The thing you feared losing was never truly disappearing. It was simply changing form. Many people spend years believing that closeness means staying exactly the same, holding the same opinions, following the same path, and making the same choices as those around them. But real connection is much deeper than that. Real connection survives growth. It survives change. It survives the seasons when life calls you toward new experiences and new understandings. If you have been feeling torn between loyalty to your past and commitment to your future, take a moment to breathe and reflect. The fact that you care so deeply already reveals something important about your heart. You are not trying to leave people behind. You are trying to move forward without losing what matters. There may be memories coming to your mind even now. Faces, conversations, shared laughter, moments that helped shape who you are today. Those memories are not obstacles to your future. They are part of its foundation. Sometimes when people begin evolving, they mistakenly believe they must reject everything that came before. Yet wisdom often teaches the opposite lesson. The strongest growth happens when you learn to appreciate your history without allowing it to define your limits. The lessons, the struggles, the relationships, and even the misunderstandings all played a role in helping you arrive here. Stay with this. There's something important here. The next stage of your journey is not asking you to erase your story. It is asking you to understand it in a new way. As you continue forward, you may notice that your perspective on family begins to mature. You stop expecting perfection from people, and you stop demanding perfection from yourself. Instead, you begin seeing everyone as fellow travelers carrying their own hopes, fears, and unanswered questions. This shift creates compassion. It allows you to release old disappointments and appreciate people for who they are rather than who you wished they would become. In that space, something beautiful happens. The emotional weight you have been carrying starts becoming lighter. The need for constant approval loses its grip, and the quiet confidence growing inside you becomes stronger than the fear of being misunderstood. The deeper realization waiting for you is this. Sometimes what feels like saying goodbye is actually saying hello to a more authentic relationship with yourself and others. It is not a dramatic separation. It is not a moment of loss. It is a gradual awakening to the truth that love does not require you to shrink your dreams, silence your voice, or ignore your inner calling. The more you understand this, the more peaceful your journey becomes. And as you step into that peace, another layer of this message begins to reveal itself. What you are learning now is preparing you for a realization that changes the way you view your future, and that realization is closer than you think.